Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be painting one of the new Tyranid models from the 40k starter set in the amazing classic Hive Fleet Behemoth colours. So grab a brew, get comfortable, and we're going to jump in to show you how to paint this quick and easy colour scheme. So, priming the model black, we've had it built, primed and on the base and ready to go. So this is pretty easy to do, and it's just a matter of just nice thin layers and a couple of washes and it's all good. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the flesh tones. So we're going to use Memphiston red, we're going to thin it down a little bit, and we're going to be getting it all over the miniature that's not the sort of Chichen, is that what it's called? I think so. The armor pieces of the Tyranid. We're going to go back and clean them up with black later on before doing the blue. So thank you everybody who has supported the channel. It's been absolutely amazing. We're literally almost finished all of the goals that YouTube have set us. The channel's growing amazingly. It's just crazy good. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do like this video, drop a comment and ring that bell. And also, if you want to see other content which I will be building upon, there is a members area now where you have exclusive content in that members area. And the first one up is a Age of Sigmar miniature, the Marshal on foot. And next month there is going to be a 40k miniature. So if that's your boat and you fancy that, go check that out. Okay, so once everything is done, it's about 2 layers. What I'm doing now is I've got some corn red and I've thinned it right down to a wash consistency, and I'm basically just covering all of the red areas with this corn red, just making sure it's sitting into the deepest recesses. Don't worry too much about being neat at this stage. You just want to slap it in there and have a little bit of fun with it, because we are going to be tidying up and then applying the highlights. So once that's done and allow it to dry, we're going to move on to the next part of the shading, which is basically a 60 to 40 mix of corn red and incubi darkness. You can use black if you want, or you can use a pre-made colour like Barakanar Burgundy, but you want this to be sort of like have that greeny tint and a real deep sort of burgundy tint of green in that shade. And you want to basically focus this wash on the deepest areas of the flesh tone. Just make sure you go all around and you get it all done. And if it starts pooling in any way, you can just, we're going to be able to tidy that up in the next stage, so don't worry too much about that. So what we're doing now is with the Memphiston red, we're just going back and we're just going to be cleaning everything up. Just making sure that when we put this next layer of Memphiston red on, that we kind of leave the lower parts of the flesh tone with those darker tones from the 2 previous washes. So you're kind of sort of like picking out the more raised areas. So you just work your way around the whole model and pick out those points, and it'll really start to sort of like stand out. I'm using a size 1 brush here from Rosemary CO series 33. You can do it a little bit bigger if you really needed to, but a size 1 I found is really good, especially this brush. It's got a really good point to it. So once you've done the Mephiston Red, we're going to then move into Evil Sunz Scarlet. And this is where you're going to really start focusing in on the highlights. So you really want those edges picked out, the uppermost areas of this flesh tone, the hard lines basically. And this, maybe a surprise to some, but is actually my first ever Tyranid miniature I've painted. And it's a lot of cool things here. Like, I've never really painted a miniature that is entirely organic, which is kind of a cool experience, and I'm going to be looking forward to doing more Tyranids in the future because I've got a lot more of the other Hive Fleets and an old classic colour scheme from Space Hulk planned on some of these Tyranid miniatures, so it's going to be really super cool. And the two new Lictor models that you get in the starter set, they're definitely going to be getting like a sort of high-end paint job tutorial video done on them because they are stunning. So as I was saying with Evil Sunz Scarlet, you just go around picking out all of those raised areas, and you sort of just building up those layers, and it'll really start to pop. So once that's done, you're going to be moving on to the next stage of highlighting, and that is with Wild Rider Red. And basically what you want to be doing with this colour is keeping it inside the Evil Sunz Scarlet and picking out all of the more prominent edges and raise points. So in this point, this is where you're going to be starting to sort of putting in edge highlights. So like on the arms, you've got some of the body flesh where it's got like natural edges. You want to be picking those out, as well as around these weird sort of vent things on their arms and on their bodies. So you just want to be going around picking out all of the edge highlights, doing little thin edge highlights on the tops of the shoulders, and just sort of enhancing everything around that model. And just take your time on this point, because the more cleaner you are on this, the better it will look. And it can be quite quick to do. I found that the edge highlights are not like a Space Marine. There's little points and little divots that you can sort of just pick out with nice little subtle thin layer of this color, and it'll just make everything pop, and it's really, really cool. But just work your way around the model, and if you make any mistakes, don't worry about it. You can come back with the previous color and just go over where you made a mistake, and then come back in with the Wild Rider, and it's all good. And we're almost finished the red at this stage, so it doesn't take too long at all. So for the final highlight of the red areas, we're going to be using Fire Dragon Bright. And as you can see, I just made a slight mistake there, so I just brushed it off with my finger. So what you want to be doing is just picking out the most prominent, sharpest points on all of the flesh areas. So it's like on the tops of the shoulders, around all the jaw area, and the little sort of hole things that it has on the side of its head, the tops of its shoulders, and all of the sort of sharp, hard lines on the body, and that'll really make all of these areas pop. If you do feel that you want to go a little bit brighter than this, you can then do a couple of spot highlights on the prominent areas with something like Tower Ochre. This is quite a bright colour, and it will kind of really sort of give those little spot focal highlights and really sort of make those edges pop. But once you've done this, that is the flesh area done, and then we're going to be going on to the blue Chichen armor, which is what we're doing now. And this is really super easy. We base coat all of these areas with Kantor blue, making sure that you get a nice opaque finish. So about 2 layers I did in total for this, and once that's done, we'll then get on to shading and highlighting it. So as you can see, I'm still just going around the other side of the model. There is a little bit of chichen on the inside of that leg, deep in there. So just make sure you get that, and then just do the other side. Just take your time, nice and slow. Don't go too crazy. And if you do make any mistakes, quickly wipe it off with a wet brush, or you're gonna have to start the red again. So once you've got all that nice base coated, you want to get it shaded. So what I'm using here is Night Lord Blue. It's a Citadel paint, and it's one of the base colors, and it's actually darker than Kantor Blue, and it's really, really good for these deep shades, and it would be perfect for a shade color for something like a Crimson Fist. So go around getting all of the sort of the deepest areas and where you're going to put the shadows in, and once that's done, allow it to dry. Maybe go in again if you really need to. I think I did 2 layers of this wash in total to really bring that tone down. And once that was done, as you can see, I mixed in a 50-50 mix of Night Lord and Abaddon Black, and then went in for a more real deeper shade wash between those armor plates. Now, making sure that we have a really good brush with a really good sharp point, we're going back to Kantor Blue, and we're basically going to be doing very, very thin lines coming down to that edge of the armor plate. How I did this is I did one side of the model and then did the other, and it just makes it easier. And as you can see, I'm just pulling that brush about halfway into the armor plate to the edge, and it's very thin and very lightly done, and you just do it really, really quick, like little lines side by side, and you just want to build up those tones. And this is pretty much what we're going to be doing for the next couple of stages of highlights on this. You can sort of blend this and smooth this out and then have a couple of more extreme highlights like this, but for a tabletop, this is perfectly fine. For the next layer, we're using Altdorf Blue. Sorry, not Altdorf, Altdorf. It's one of the blues. Let me check. It's Altioch Blue. It's not the Empire sounding one, it's the other one. They're very, very similar shades, but yes, using the Games Workshop color system, this is the sort of highlight color that you use on the Kantor Blue. So again, what you're going to be doing is keeping that nice and thin with a nice sharp brush and doing exactly what we did in the previous stage, and you're just sort of building up those lines on top of the previous lines, and you'll build up that sort of like GW style Chichen effect. Next, we've got Howarth Blue, and exactly like we did just in the previous stage, lots and lots of thin layers, but we're keeping these ones a lot smaller and closer to the edge, and we're doing a little bit of an edge highlight around the side of the armor plates as well, just to sort of pick those out as we work around. And again, do one half of the model and then the other half, and you could probably batch paint these quite easily, just picking up and just working through model by model, and you could probably get quite a few knocked out in an evening, because there's not that much detail on these Tyranid models. We're essentially painting the detail in ourselves. And then for the final highlight, it is Fenris Grey, and it's just a thin edge highlight on the edges and a very, very, very small dash line type highlight that we've been doing on the edge of those armor panels, just to really sort of get them to pop. You can push this highlight a little bit more if you really want to, with a little bit of blue horror on the sort of most prominent points and things like that. But you've got to remember, this is for a tabletop army, so you might not really want to go that far. And then once that's done, we're going to start doing the detail. So what I'm doing is I've made like a 50-50 mix of Night Questor flesh and black, and I'm base coating all of the gun. So you just want to do all of the gun flesh and the little pipes around the hand. As you can see, I'm leaving the armor plate because they're going to be black. Then once that's done, I'm going to be adding a little bit of Night Questor flesh into this and building up the highlights and sort of just picking out the prominent points on the fleshy area of the gun. And then once I've got to almost pure Night Questor flesh, adding grey into the mix, because you want it to sort of be like a dead looking flesh colour to sort of really sort of look good. And here you can see me sort of working on the armor plate on the gun, and I'm just sort of picking out the sort of final highlights and everything else. For the actual chitin parts on the gun, clean them up with black and then use Incubi Darkness to basically do what you do with the blue areas, and just pick out all of those edges with the very thin lines and sort of just build that up. And we're just going to be using my normal black recipe for this. So once you've done that, and there's not much on the gun, there's I think about 3 plates in total, we jump straight into Dark Reaper and do exactly what we did before with the blue. Very thin layers, keeping it close to the edge. Now that armor panel at the front of the gun doesn't really have sort of like a 2-part edge like the others do. It's like one big plate, so sort of use your judgment on how far you're going to be bringing these highlights in. Then once that's done, you're going to be using Thunderhawk Blue, making the highlights a lot smaller and a lot more closer to the more edges. I kind of kept these to the front of the gun and then just did a normal edge highlight at the rear of the armor plate, and then do the last bits. And then once you've done all that, you just finish off with a little edge highlight with some Fenrisian grey, and then that is basically the gun done. You can do a little bit of the detail work like the eyes in yellow, and I kept the ton black because it kind of gives them more of that alien look, that there is a little bit more menacing. And just do the base, and then that's it, all done. All in all, it could take about a couple of hours to get one of these done, but then I was filming, so you could probably easily batch paint about 5 of these in a very easy way. But thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like this video. Please comment for what is the next Hive Fleet you would like me to do, and please ring that bell. And also, it would really be awesome if you could check out the new members area. There is a video there, and there is going to be a new video every month, and all of the bonuses and the benefits for the members are pretty much clear up on there. So thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. So long for now. Goodbye.